If you're a sports fan, this is a pretty fun time to live in the nation's capital, as both the Capitals and the Wizards have advanced to the second round of the playoffs. The Wizards in dominating fashion. The Nationals, of course, predicted to do very well this season and into the postseason. And, of course, the Redskins are,
Yeah,
the Redskins.
Can't be perfect.
Scott Allen, Washington Post sports reporter, joins us right now. Did anyone ever think of a time when the biggest and best sports stories in Washington, D.C. would not involve the beloved Redskins?
Hey, guys, thanks for having me. Yeah, is there an NFL draft coming up or something?
Yeah.
That's usually what we're getting ready for this time of year, and that's definitely taken a back seat to the Caps and Wizards in the second round for the first time ever.
So let's talk about this. First of all, writ large, when you look at the Caps and Wizards together, they have something in common, and that is their ownership. Ted Leonsis, this has been his dream, his goal.
Right.
Does he deserve a lot of credit here for really doing the right things of late in putting these franchises back on the right track?
Sure, he does. I mean, I think Ted definitely deserves some credit. I mean, the teams deserve credit. They certainly weren't part of all of this dreadful DC sports history. And he talked before the Caps game one kind of openly about how he wants the Wizards to follow in the track of the Capitals and making the playoffs every year. And fans kind of got a chuckle out of that because, sure, while the Caps are making the playoffs every year, they've kind of got this reputation as not doing anything beyond the first or maybe the occasional second round. But, yeah, certainly some credit to ownership.
What is the magic that's been bottled this time around? What is making the difference?
Well, with the Wizards, I think it was pretty clear in that first round series that it was Paul Pierce. And
yeah.
We heard all year that, we're resting him. We're kind of keeping him under wraps for the playoffs. That's what he's here for. After a big shot in Game 3, he was strutting down the court, and you could see him yelling at fans, "That's why they brought me here."
Yep.
And they did. I mean, they looked like a different team with him in that first-round sweep than the team that really struggled in the second half.
Things get challenging for the Wizards next, though, right? They have to face off against the Atlanta Hawks?
Potentially. I mean, that series
right.
is now tied 2-2, which, I mean, if you're the Wizards sitting there chilling at the Caps Game 7, waiting for your next opponent, I mean, you want that series to go 7 games.
That's true. I made the assumption it's the Hawks because they did so well this season, but that's right. They could get a better draw than that.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we know who the Capitals are going to be playing. It starts tomorrow against the New York Rangers. How is that going to stack up for the Caps?
Another really tough series. I mean, this is nothing new for the Caps. I think everyone thought the first round against the Islanders would go 7 games. I wouldn't be surprised if the second round against the Rangers goes 7 games. This is a team, I mean, the Caps have played the Rangers 5 times in the postseason with Alex Ovechkin. It seems to be every year and every series, for the most part, with a few exceptions, has been a tough series. I mean, their goalie, Henrik Lundqvist, can match up against Holtby. It's not going to be easy, but certainly the mojo is rolling for the Caps right now.
Can I ask you? We've sort of joked about the Redskins, but they picked up RG3's draft, fifth year of his option now.
Yeah.
Fifth year of his option. Were you surprised by that, or did you think that was sort of like a no-brainer?
I was a little bit surprised by it. I mean, I think, barring injury, it's something that they could get off the books. It's a little bit of a risk for them. I think, given kind of how they've handled him in the past, I think that was surprising to people. I think there's no way now that they draft a quarterback. I mean, that was probably off the books even before they picked up that option.
You mentioned the draft. It is tomorrow. What are you hearing from the Redskins? What should the strategy be? Unfortunately, they have a pretty high pick because they had such a lousy season last year.
Yeah, and I think what I would like to see them do, what I think some other fans would like to see them do, is trade down if possible. I mean, it's kind of a weird year in that you have a lot of teams up in that top 10 range that are looking to trade down and pick up more picks. I mean, Scott McClellan, the GM, has talked about that, how he wants to come out of the draft with 10 picks. That's a refreshing thing for a DC sports fan to hear. So more than picking any one player, they need so many pieces that I hope they're able to turn that 5th pick into multiple picks later in the draft.
But when it comes to the quarterback situation, who's making the calls? I'm sorry,
Brian is like every DC sports fan. He is fixated on the quarterback
for
the Redskins.
Honestly, I've been so fixated on the Caps and the Wizards.
I know, but let me just ask this one question. please just give me this one?
Sure.
So, when it comes to the quarterback situation, who is making the calls about the quarterback situation? Is it the owner of the team, or is it the coach of the team?
I mean, I think you know the answer to that question. As well as I do. Let's just say I'm not in the locker room at Redskins Park. Actually,
I know. I'm putting you on the spot.
How dare the owner of a team actually make decisions about his largest investment?
And they have bigger problems, as we could talk about in a different segment.
Let's switch to the Nats here, who many people have predicted would actually show up at the World Series. That's some pretty high bar for the Nats to hit, and they've had a slow start here. Is it because of injuries? And by the way, this despite last night's historic come-from-behind win. That was amazing.
I know you guys have an early show. I was wondering if you stayed up for that.
I'll tell you what. The last time I checked, they were down 10-2 when I went to bed last night, and I checked the score to see how bad it ended up, and I was
shocked.
Shouting here in the studio.
A lot of people were shocked
before we went on the air to see that they came back and won.
It was incredible. I don't know why I was watching an April game that they trailed 9-1 and then 10-2, but I did, and I was happy I did. But I mean, despite that, people talked after that game about how that could be kind of the catapult to get things rolling. And they needed something because, as you alluded to, injuries, sure, but even with guys coming back, Span and Worth are back. The pitching staff that people talked about as being one of maybe the greatest ever, even that hasn't been all that solid. Doug Fister struggling, Gio Gonzalez struggling, Max Scherzer missing a start with a freak injury, and then defensively, Ian Desmond, I think he's up to 9 errors on the year, and we're still in April.
Yeah, that's ugly.
Everything has been going wrong until last night. It's been an incredible 48 hours or so in DC sports.
Yeah, and speaking of our neighbors to the north, Baltimore, it's going to be an incredible game at Orioles Stadium today.
Yeah.
That's going to be weird, isn't it?
Yeah, another first in sports history. I know we're sending a few people up there to kind of take in the scene from the press box.
For people who may not know, they're going to play the game, but there's not going to be anybody in the stands.
Yeah, absolutely no one in the stands, and I've seen a lot of questions on Twitter, is the PA announcer going to be there? The players going to use walk-up songs? I mean, certainly trivial questions in the grand scheme of things, but it'll be really fascinating to watch. And I noticed today that MLB.com made that its free game of the day. So people who want to kind of take in this spectacle, obviously not able to be there, can do so. It'll be weird to see.
Yeah. Also, we should let you know WMAL's own Bob Cosentino is going to be at that game, so we'll have a report later today all through the afternoon on what it's looking like. Just to swing back to the playoffs, because I am pretty pumped and geeked out about it. Tomorrow's game, has Ovi shown up now? I mean, his rap has always been he's a great regular season hockey stud, but in the playoffs he disappears. Is he going to rise to the occasion here against the Rangers?
I think he will, and I think there was a stat yesterday. He's got more goals against Lundqvist than anyone in the playoffs,
right.
and he. I mean, it's great for the Caps if he doesn't have to do it all. And he didn't have to do it all in the first round. The Islanders took away a lot of his favorite shots. But
thanks for joining us
there, Scott.
Scott Allen, always good to have you. And yes, I'm pumped. It's a great time to be a sports fan.
Enjoy it. Unprecedented. Thanks, guys.